If you have a question for Dr. Donna, please do leave it on my page and I will be happy to answer the question for you. For Dr. Donna, please. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Talking with Dr. Donna. I am Dr. Donna, and your appointment with your doctor starts now. Today, we are going to talk about mental health. We know we are dealing with lots of issues with the pandemic. Coronavirus is causing lots of us to feel sad, isolated, alone, anxious, worried, fearful even. So many different emotions that we are dealing with right now. Well, we're going to talk about those emotions today, and we're going to, first of all, give you some solutions so that you can deal with what we are going through in 2020 July right now. What can you do right now to help you cope with what we're dealing with, this pandemic, this uncertainty that's in the world? I have two great guests with me today that are therapists who are going to share with you what they do in the field of mental health and what some coping skills for you so that you can manage during this time. But first, I want to give you a couple of statistics, okay? So African Americans make up about 13% of the population. And even though we only make up about 13% of the population, when you look at the percent of the population that is homeless, African Americans make up about 40% of the homeless population. We make up about 50% of the prison population, and we make up about 45% of the foster care system. So we have reasons to feel stressed. We have reasons to have mental illness. But we want to make sure that right now, my goal as your host of Talking with Dr. Donna, and the reason why I have this show is because I want you to have a trusted voice in the community. We are going to build generational health, not just generational wealth, but generational health. So what we talk about today should help you, and it should help your family members to deal with mental illness head on, not to deny it, not to act as if it's not relevant or it's not happening. And we are going to do some things about it so that the next generation won't have the same type of stigma that we have now around mental illness. I want to bring in my two guests. So I have two guests today. I have CW and I have Sanji. So they should hopefully be on the Zoom and we can bring them in so I can introduce them. All right, there you both are. Hi.
Hi.
All right, so first I'm going to introduce brother CW. So CW Devers hails from I can introduce Chicago. He has lived in Oakland though for the past 12 years. He did his undergraduate work at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, where he got a Bachelor of Arts degree in social work. And then he went to the University of Illinois at Chicago to receive his Master of Social Work degree. He currently works here in Oakland at Roots Community Health Center. And what he does is he supports individuals, couples, families, and groups with elevating their awareness and improving healthy expression, exercising clinical interventions to desensitize emotional triggers, which impacts your self-worth and interactions with others, contributes towards a life of well-balance and self-fulfillment. Doesn't that sound great? That's awesome. Hi, we don't want to tell anyone, nor do we want to seek any help. So both of you are mental health professionals, you're licensed clinical social workers, you're therapists. What do you say to our community about seeking help, about mental illness and the stigma that we currently have? So CW, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I think that with
What do you say to our community about seeking help, about mental illness?
so I think that I'm in more of a school where
I'll start with you.
mental health symptoms are kind of not as
What do you say to our community about seeking help?
Are you hearing the back?
Are you hearing the
I think that
feedback?
I'm in more of a school where mental health symptoms are kind of not as I'm hearing like conversation. Yeah. Is that just me or?
Okay, Sanjay, can you turn off your microphone?
I'm in more of a school where, mental health symptoms are kind of not as I'm hearing like conversation. Yeah. Is that just me or?
Okay. The best laid plans, right, everyone? We went through this. We had our audio set. Whenever you go live, there's always something that can go wrong. So just bear with us. If you're watching us live right now, please bear with us while we get our audio issues taken care of. Best laid plans, right, everyone? We went through this. We had our audio. We have a great show, and I know CW and Sanjay have lots of information they want to share. We're going to get to it. Bear with us while we get our audio. The devil is a lie. It's a lie. Go ahead now. Okay, CW?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead, CW.
Yeah, so I was going to mention that I'm
not hearing him.
You're not here, okay.
Hold on, CW.
Okay.
All right, for you out there who might be watching it live on YouTube, we're going to talk a lot about the stigma of mental illness. We're going to talk about what is mental illness, some of the signs and symptoms of mental illness. We're going to also talk about how you can recognize when you need additional help. What are some of the signs that says this is a little bit more than you can handle? What are we going to do about that? Who can you seek help from? How do you get the help that you need? So, brother CW?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me now?
Are you back on?
Hello?
I don't see. How do you get the help that you need?
Hello?
So, brother CW?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
I see you now. Okay.
I see you.
Okay, great. All right. So why don't you go ahead and talk about the stigma? What's some of the stigma that you see as a therapist or that you hear in the community about seeking help for mental illness?
Well, I think that people need to also be realistic on what actually what things can be done. We need to also be more aware of prevention things that we can do. Like when we have like a change in our mood, it's okay to talk to a professional to kind of guide and try to figure out where it came from and how to move it in a direction where you want to go. With therapy, it's a lot of it is really directed. It's basically based on what you want and what you get from it. That's how I do it with my clients. And so I think that people should, when they see certain, I guess, certain, what call it, warning signs, is like when there's a severe change in their mood. And if you see like a dramatic change in like, your weight, or you notice that certain things you felt comfortable with doing and you are not comfortable doing anymore, you could just have an experience that kind of altered your viewpoint. And so trying to get more comfortable in a space where you were comfortable before, a therapist can help you, guide you to get back to where you were.
Right, great. Sanjay, what do you think about the stigma of mental health in our community?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a stigma, but I think that actually COVID-19 has really kind of spurred people to seek out help. And so where it is not so much like today, it's not so much a stigma as it was in the past, but historically speaking, yes, most definitely people had a tendency to kind of, keep things to themselves. Families would not share things. And so, they just kept it amongst them because it was just keep it with your family as opposed to sharing the family's business with others. So, I mean, I definitely think there's still a stigma, but I think from just the timing right now, I think that it's ripe for, for people to seek therapy and for people to get the help that they need. We have like Taraji P. Henson, making therapy not so much attractive, but like making it accessible for people and something that, you see a celebrity seeking out help, then maybe it makes it more easier for other people to seek out therapy.
Yeah.
But definitely there's still a stigma.
Yeah, I was looking at a statistic that talked about how the number of phone calls to hotlines have increased like over 1,000%.
Yes.
During the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And that online therapy has increased by about 65%. So they were looking at a company and their number of clients had increased like 65% as we've been dealing with this pandemic. So lots of things. For me as a medical professional, I never understood the stigma with mental health because we know your brain is a part of your body. We don't have that same stigma when you have a problem with your heart. You seek out help for someone to help you with your heart disease. If you have kidney disease, you have diabetes, we seek out help to deal with those various parts of our bodies. But your most essential organ, which is your brain, we have a hard time seeking out help to make sure that part of our body is as healthy as possible. Right. So I'm glad to see that some of the stigma is being removed right now, particularly during this time. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about some of the symptoms that you are seeing from your patients that are coming in. What types of things are you seeing? And how can people figure out if they need to come to see you versus trying to do some things for themselves at home? I don't know. Sanjay, you want to start?
Okay. So I know you wanted me to give like a definition of what is depression and anxiety. So I guess I was going to start there. So just bear with me just for a second. So I want to be technical in terms of giving the definition from the American Psychiatric Association. So just give me 1 second. I just want to kind of just bear with me. CW, go ahead. You could answer that briefly for a second. I'll come right back.
Yes, I think that like a significant change would be an indicator that that there's something going on which is affecting your life and it's affecting you emotionally. A lot of things that we kind of, like we said before, we're comparing it with medical. When we have a medical condition, a lot of times we can see it, right? We can see that we're bleeding. We can see that we have headaches. It's kind of like very, very upfront and very obvious. But then for any kind of things like anxiety, depression, those things are kind of like, it's gradual. They don't just kind of like happen all at once. Those changes and those things are kind of compounding. And so I'll
give the definition if you want.
Go ahead.
You ready? Okay. So depression, and just think about what is depression. So it's of course, a common and serious medical illness that of course negatively affects how you feel, the way you think and how you act. And of course it's treatable. So depression causes feelings of sadness and or a loss of interest in activities once enjoyed. And it, of course, can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems and can decrease a person's ability to function at work and at home. And so the symptoms for depression vary from mild to severe and can include anything from feeling sad or having a depressed mood, a loss of interest or pleasure in activities once enjoyed, changes in your appetite, weight loss or gain, unrelated to dieting, of course, trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, loss of energy or increased fatigue, and increase in purposelessness activity, just, pacing, wring your hand, things like that. Also, feelings of worthlessness or guilty, difficulty thinking, concentrating, or making decisions, thoughts of death or suicide. And for depression, the symptoms must last at least 2 weeks for a diagnosis of depression. And so there's a difference I wanted to just kind of touch on briefly between the difference between depression and sadness or grief or bereavement. When we think about people getting or having depression from the death of a loved one or a loss of a job or ending of a relationship, those type of experiences. So it's being sad is definitely not the same as having depression, because the grieving process, of course, is like more of a natural one. Is of course it's unique to individuals, right? So every individual it's different for. So in grief, it says your self-esteem is usually maintained, but in major depression, the feelings of worthlessness and self-loathing are more common. All right, I'm coming back. Did you want me to talk about anxiety disorders?
So we'll come back to anxiety. And I
Okay.
want CW to be able to finish his thoughts about depression and when do you need to seek care.
Okay.
What I was saying that with treatment, it's like it's pulling back layers, because I said before that it doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual when and so with treatment, it's pulling back layers and it takes time. So there's a lot of patience. And so the earlier you get treatment, the better, and the faster you will get results.
Okay, great. So we talked about depression, and sounds like we really need to make a distinction between depression to feeling sad, feeling natural sadness or mourning over a loss of a person or loss of a job or a loved one or anything that was major in your life, versus having clinical depression, right? Now I know that there's, and in addition to depression, we hear a lot about anxiety. So Sanji, I know you were wanting to lead into talking about what is anxiety and how does that show up for you both in your practices?
Okay. I'm not going to read you the official definition. That's fine. Okay. All right. So how does anxiety show up? Anxiety shows up with my client having like heart palpitations, having crying spells, again, not being able to focus or to concentrate. Some of the similar symptoms that depression has, like they can't focus, just not being able to, not feeling like themselves, in many different ways. So, I mean, there's, like I said, some of the symptoms kind of mirror some of the symptoms as depression, but again, feeling just like not like yourself, not wanting to do or not enjoying some of the things that you enjoyed in the past, maybe saying no to people or, I don't want to go, I don't want to do that, things like that.
All right. What do you think, CW? What do you
I agree. I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think that they can look different from for every individual person experiences this differently. I know people who said they felt depressed and it looked like anger. A lot of it manifests in that way. So everyone's expression of their emotions is I think it's kind of different.
Yeah. Would it be safe to say, because I want people to try to be able to help themselves and figure out like what's going on with them. Would it be safe to say if you have any sort of significant alterations or changes to your personality or your sleep or your eating habits, like those are some of the things to pay attention to?
Yeah, and like we have like for example, what's going on today, a lot of people are going to experience it because people are they're forced to get out of their routine. They're forced to get out of their comfort routine, which actually, when we actually have an everyday routine, we subconsciously implement things that are kind of healthy. We do more walking, we talk more to people outside, even when you're, but now people are being forced to kind of like stay away from people and not do less exercise. And getting exercise in sun is one of the things that actually affects your mood in a positive way. So then now that people are not getting that, now they're like saying, why do I feel, different?
Right.
Yeah, Sandra, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, right now, of course, again, because of COVID, yes, then this is like our new normal, right? And so having people just like recognize the difference between, yes, we are working from home now or working remotely, but, seeing if does your supervisor or manager have the same expectation for you to like have the same deliverables when you were at work and now you're working at home with children in a makeshift, office. It's not the same. So, when you're at home or working remotely, it's really important to try to have some structure and that you have some you have some structure in your day, that you get up and not roll from the bed to your computer, that you like do your morning rituals to have your morning rituals, like just take a shower, wash your face, do the normal things as opposed to just putting, your screensaver on the Zoom call, So if you are present, and that means that you're fully present, that you're awake, alert, then you could be more attentive and productive and feel like you're productive as opposed to just sitting behind the screen and you're there physically, but then you're like, oh, I didn't get anything out of me. I didn't, you don't feel productive, even though you're spending the time or wasting your time in front of the screen. So just, again, having a ritual. And CW, what you said about like COVID-19 doesn't allow us necessarily to get outside and be in the sun, which, like you said, does help to elevate our mood. But, the law says that we can go outside and we can be in a green space, just wear your mask, right? So long as you could, so long as you could do it safely, it's not to be, don't use it as an excuse, like, oh, we can't go outside now. Like, don't let that be restrictive. So you wear your mask, go outside into your backyard, or a green space, just to be safe about doing it. So anyway.
And I would say, I will copy that. And I would say that also this is something that's going to be lasting for a while longer.
Right.
And the longer people feel pressured to isolate themselves, the more you're by yourselves, the harder it is going to get to rejoin back to society. Yes. So I think I'm encouraging people to definitely commune with people in a safe way with masks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. And make sure you have social distance between you, right? At least 6 feet. That's what we're asking of everyone. And trying to socialize with the same group of people, that you can have what's called a social bubble, so that you are together with the same group of people to decrease your risk of spreading the disease or catching the disease.
Right.
All right. So let's talk about some things that they can do right now. So Sanjay, you started talking a little bit about how we can be present on our Zoom calls. And those of us who are working from home know that you're on Zoom call like for 3 or 4 hours straight, like back to back to back calls on your computer. And it is easy to just roll out of bed, throw on a sweatshirt and, put a screensaver on where you're like, I love my favorite screensavers when I'm at the beach. So I have a screensaver at the beach to make me feel like I'm outside. But what are some other things that people can do during this time to help cope with the anxiety and the sadness and the isolation that so many of us are feeling right now? What kind of skills and thoughts, ideas can you give to people?
Well, I mean, I guess my one-liner is always like to do one thing, right? And to have a whole toolkit of one things you could do. And then, as something comes up, then you could use one of those things. So one of the things could be like if you're sitting, on a Zoom call. So make sure that you take time for yourself to prioritize yourself. So yes, you're at work, working remotely, but, at the end of the call or, take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to do like a breathing exercise, to get up and to stretch. just something very simple, and doing, there's several yoga poses that you can do that help to give you energy, to kind of rejuvenate you. Sitting in child's pose, doing a downward dog, doing the sun salutation. There's several things you could do in, the matter of a few minutes that can help to rejuvenate you. So that's just for your Zoom call. But, like walking, hiking, for those of you that have children, doing activities with children, like, baking with your kids, or doing something that's, utilizing your hands, like painting or an arts project, just something you can do together to connect during the day. I have a whole nother list, but just things like that, just so you can connect again with your kids, for people that are at home. And then, like I said, I really think that walking, if you can get some walking in, that's really helpful. And as CW said, like the sun against your face, on your body, that vitamin D is, it's wonderful and necessary. So if you could, like I said, even if walking out on your, if you have a backyard or something like that, gardening, planting, doing meal prep, cooking your food and not ordering, Grubhub, those type of things.
All right. Those are great things. CW, you have any more suggestions?
And those are all great, all great. And then, like you said before, taking those breaks in between times is really important, and prioritizing that. If you have the option to do that, is really good self-care. Yep. Meditating before going outside, like you said before, taking walks in the sun, right?
Yeah. I found that when I keep a schedule, that I feel so much better at the end of the day than when I just wake up and say whatever comes.
Yeah.
And so I'm finding that the days where I have a schedule, that way I can make sure that I kind of schedule in time for myself, and I schedule in time for my kids to do some sort of activity, that I actually feel better at the end of the day, because I've gotten a variety of activities in versus just either all stuff for home or all stuff for work, right? Right. Let's talk a little bit about therapy. You're both therapists.
Yes.
And so many people are not quite sure, like, what do you do during therapy? What's it like to go to a therapist? Am I going to lay on a couch and like curl up on a ball and start crying about what happened when I was 5? Or are you guiding me through something? Or like, what do you do when someone makes an appointment with you? What does that look like? What does a therapy session look like?
CW, you want to go first, or?
I kind of say, I kind of put it is what you make it. For me, it's what you make it. And what is your goal? What do you want? I put my clients are in the ones guiding the situation. I help them and I guide them to where they want to go, but then they're the ones who help me develop the treatment plan. So when we actually do the treatment plan and we figure out what our goals are, then I can help them in monitoring some of the things they need to do to reframe some of their thoughts and to curve them around. I'm not there to shrink your head. I'm not trying to get in your head or, do any kind of like whatever, we're not like psychics over here, like doing some mind power things. No, we're all humans just trying to figure out, what can we do to find your bliss? What can we do so you can walk and accept your truth and be proud of that and be happy for it and feel like you're having a well-balanced life?
All right, great. Sanji.
All right.
How about you?
And I agree with everything he said. Thanks. Ditto that. But yes, there is a couch in my space, and so you can curl up, and people do. That's fine. They even grab the blanket sometimes, take their shoes off. It's, again, it's whatever the client wants in the moment. And of course, yeah, they could talk about something that happened in the past, or like, things that are going on like right now that are weighing on them. And so it's, again, whatever the client wants it to be. And, a therapist doesn't direct the goals, nor do we have the answers. So that's not the role of the therapist to like fix someone's problems or to answer, like, tell them to do this. Like, that is definitely not the role. And I believe that sometimes people think that that is like, tell me what to do is like, no, I mean, it's your life, right? And so you have to make choices, and the choices that you make. And so, and you get to make the choices. So, but yes, so we try to figure out, I work with them to put together a treatment plan. And then, we review it, frequently, and they get homework, things that they're supposed to, try, you employ this, see if that, if that works for you. And we review frequently and see if they're making progress, and if they want to change course or do something different. So, but it's a very free flowing conversation, and sometimes there's lots of silence. I don't have to say anything, or repeating back a question again, like, what do you think? And sometimes people don't want to, they don't want to have to answer that. That's like a hard question. What do you think? Because they want the therapist to give them their thoughts, right? So I really put it really back on the client all the time. Like, well, what do you think?
I think a lot of people too are kind of worried about, is the therapist going to push medication on me?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to remember to point that out, that I'm not even a prescribing provider, so I can't even put that on someone. And that's something that it takes a long process and a lot of steps to even get medication. Mm-hmm. You have to first also talk to a prescriber, and then they will probably work with you on the steps it takes, and then suggest probably what medications to start. And then they want to they start you on the lowest dosage, to my understanding, just to make sure that it still works with your brain chemistry. And so it's a long process to even start any medication. So I wanted to make sure that was kind of mentioned.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, and I several clients do take medication as well as go to a therapist, because usually when they're taking medication, they're being monitored for that medication like once a month by a psychiatrist. And then, but they also can, of course, see a therapist on a more regular basis. So definitely, if any of my clients or any clients feel like they need more, or they want to, they're feeling like they're not balanced, or they need to something to take the edge off, then I definitely encourage them to, seek out a consult with a psychiatrist. Absolutely.
All right, great. Those are awesome. Thank you so much, because so many people often wonder what's happening if you, make an appointment with a therapist, what to expect. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you a question. I know neither of you are really sort of child psychologists, but what would you recommend for families to sort of during this time to sort of be able to alleviate anxiety? I know for my children, they are having a lot of anxiety about, the coronavirus, not quite understanding it, but knowing that everybody is kind of nervous about it. So what kind of things can you do? Can you recommend for families to work together to kind of cope during this time?
Just from what I've read, just to make sure that you talk to them, right? That don't just leave them out of this conversation, to share with them, whatever you think is age appropriate, and to, talk about, maybe share some of your fears, and then to do some reality testing, but for the most part, we're safe, right? And that we're not at high risk, and things just to have a conversation with them and not to leave them out. My thoughts.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what's been working for my kids is just letting them tell me what they are fearful of and what they're thinking. Mm-hmm. And that then lets me know what I need to talk about, because whatever it is that they're fearful of. So let's talk about some resources, because we know there are not a whole lot of resources in our county for the people who are battling mental illness, unfortunately, but there are some resources. So let's talk about the ones that we know. So I'll start with you, Sanji. You can talk about some of the resources that you know of, and then CW, if you could talk about some of the programs that is available through Roots, or if, any other things that you might be aware of to share with our listeners.
Okay.
Watchers.
So in terms of resources, and I would encourage everyone that whether you have insurance or not, that there are resources that you can contact through insurance, and even for people that have Medi-Cal and whatnot, there's resources in terms of finding a therapist. I will say that, of course, it's very limited in terms of if you're trying to find like a Black therapist. That's actually really hard, but we are out there, right? CW, we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
But use your Kaiser, use your Beacon value options, your Blue Cross Blue Shield. So use those. For people that are working, I would encourage you to utilize your EAP program. So that's a benefit that you have that will get you 10, 15 sessions for free of no cost to you. And I think it's a resource that really goes underutilized. People do not access their EAP benefits, so utilize that. And as we come to a close, Donna, I'll put I have a resource that has like the crisis hotline, and also has a number of apps that are available to you that are free resources, like the Calm app. It's not, the Calm in and of itself is not free, but there's lots of other apps that are free that help with people that are experiencing anxiety or depression, ways for you to check in, to check your emotions, check your mood, things like that. So I'll share a slide with that at the end if you like.
Great. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. CW.
Yeah, so I would say definitely I've used the app with Headspace, which is pretty good for meditating. Resources, depends on, what's available for you in your county. If you're Alameda County, call 211. If you work within Roots, I would say call your navigator, build a good relationship with you and your navigator, because programs and then what's available is ever changing and it's ever evolving. And so as Roots grows, so will, and as things, alter, and then also they develop an individual plan for you. And so working with your navigator to figure out which one that you qualify for, and so you can concentrate and focus on those. But there are an abundance amount of resources in Alameda County.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for people to recognize if they are feeling like they need some help, to definitely reach out. And if you don't know where you can reach out to, ask a friend, ask a trusted, person that you can talk to just ask how they might be able to help you. Maybe they know a resource that you're not aware of that can help you. And definitely, if you're feeling like you want to harm yourself, please reach out. And Sanji, thank you. I know you're going to share the number to the suicide hotline.
I will.
At the end of this segment, so that you can screenshot these phone numbers and you can keep them in your phone, so that if you ever need to speak to someone immediately, you will have the number handy. So I'm going to give you each a final word, a final thought about this topic, anything that you want to say, and let people know how they might be able to reach you at Roots, or how to set up an appointment. What's the phone number for Roots? Sanji, if you want to share your phone number as well, or how people can get in touch with you. So I'll start with you, CW.
Okay. So with us, Roots, we have a total of 4 clinicians, and I'm one of them. And our telephone number is 510-777-1177. Again, 510-777-1177.
Great. That's a nice, easy number.
And I have a small private practice, and I can be reached at Walker Wellness Therapy Consulting. You can find me on Psychology Today, as well as my phone number is 510-600-2838. And I'm going to drop off this and go to my screen, because I want to share like one other thing about a coping skills toolkit. So I want to share that also. So just give me 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to share your screen?
Yes.
Okay.
In just a moment. Okay. Let's see.
Great. So it's awesome. I don't know if you all also heard, if you have any need in the Alameda County, is to call 211, and that You can call them, an operator will answer, and you can let them know what resources you're looking for, and hope that and they will be able to help you. Definitely will be able to guide you in the direction that you are what you're looking for.
Also, I want to also mention to our website, rootsclinic.org. Roots, ROOTS, clinic.org.
Awesome. Great. I think we might have lost Sanji in her attempt to share her screen.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
But I guess I'll just say it. You can hear me, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
we see the
but
screen as well.
Go to
Oh, you see my screen?
Go to slideshow. And
okay.
no, go to slideshow.
Boom. From current slide. Perfect. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I found this on the it says the image, they don't know who it is, unknown credit, but it came from the Mental Health and Invisible Illness Resources. So I thought this was actually pretty cool. It says, let's make a coping skills toolbox. And so basically the toolbox is a place where you keep all the things that you can really grab, when you're in a period of distress, right? And so that you should have some self-soothing things, like something that's comforting for yourself through your five senses. So something that you can touch, like if that's, a blanket or whatever it is, something that you can hear, whether it's music, something that you can see, something to taste, and something to smell. And then also something that's a distraction. So something that can take your mind off of the problems for a while. For examples like doing a puzzle or a book or, artwork or art crafts, things like that. And then something that has an opposite action. So say doing something the opposite of the impulse that you're feeling, right? So having, if you're feeling a negative, then having a positive affirmation or something, some inspiration, or something, if you're feeling sad, something that's funny or that cheers you up. And then also in terms of emotional awareness, something, just a list of things that you could, like a journal or any type of writing supplies or drawing supplies. And then also in the mindfulness wheel, so tools for really centering yourself and for grounding yourself. And so examples of that would be like something for meditation or relaxation, just recordings, groundings, also having a crisis plan. So if you feel like, you're in a tough space, so, having, friends that you could call, your therapist, psychiatrist, the hotline, crisis number, and then kind of putting all of these tools together so that you have them in a box, you could decorate it or something so that when you need them, you could just kind of go to this one place. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. And
yeah, I like that.
And the next, this is the next slide that I was going to share with you. Well, this other one, I won't, The next one is just the list of the crisis support and services. And so it has the suicide prevention hotline, a nationwide hotline. And these are some of the mental health apps that I was speaking about earlier. And it also talks about the one that CW spoke of, the Headspace. So basically all you have to do is, Google these things, the Booster Buddy, the WISA, the Catch It, Headspace, Calm, Personal Zen, any one of these. And, it's a free mental health app that you could utilize just to check in on your mood and things like that. So just if you want to use them, that's all.
Great. And if you can screenshot that, let's just leave it up there for a moment.
Okay.
And let people screenshot it so that you have these resources, these apps, the phone numbers, all right there handy for you in the moment when you need it. It's so important to have the phone number when you need it, have it available to you. Okay, great. All right. Thank you, Sister Sanji, for sharing those.
You're welcome.
And so this topic, I hope, I know I learned a lot. I thank CW, I thank you, Sanji, for coming on and talking, because all of us during this time, we're all feeling some kind of way, right? We're all feeling a little bit down, a little bit isolated. We can't do what we normally do. I just celebrated my 50th birthday, and I was supposed to be on the beach somewhere. And I was supposed to be in Oakland hanging out. So, we all have things that we are adjusting to. Our kids are not in summer camp. they're home with us all day. You know, they're probably not going to go back to school immediately. So we all need these coping skills. So thank you for this. And it's normal for us to feel a little bit of sadness and a little bit of loss during this time. But there is a difference between feeling the normal and some feeling things that are lasting a little bit longer. You're not feeling quite right. There's nothing that's helping you to bounce back.
Right.
And that's when you really want to seek the care of one of the therapists that we have, like Sanji and CW. We're so blessed to have you in our community. So I thank you for the work that you do and for your availability. I don't think I said this at the beginning, but this is July. July is the Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And so there's lots of resources online, lots of information out there. We want to erase the stigma of mental health and mental health disease and illness in our community and encourage you to seek care, seek help when you need it. So thank you for tuning in to Talking with Dr. Donna. Thank you for keeping your appointment with me. We have another appointment next week at 6 p.m. every Thursday. It's Talking with Dr. Donna. The doctor is in. Thank you so much. God bless each and every one of you. And until we see you soon, take care.
Thank you,
Sanji. Thank you, CW.
Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care. If you have a question for Dr. Donna, please do leave it on my page and I will be happy to answer the question for you.